Hello, my name is Danielle Barger, and I am a trust and estates attorney in San Diego, California with Barger and Batiste Law. My practice focuses on estate planning, and as part of that practice, I am routinely drafting wills, trusts, powers of attorneys for my clients. But another important piece of the estate planning practice is the drafting and signing of healthcare directives. Today, I'm going to talk about the various healthcare directives that somebody should have in place, and I'm going to explain the differences among the various documents, as well as talk about how they work together to ensure that your wishes are met. Now, in my office, our healthcare directives are generally comprised of 3 different documents. The first document is a HIPAA authorization. The second document is an advanced healthcare directive, and the third one is a living will. I generally will complete all 3 for my clients, and I'm going to talk about each one individually. It's important to keep in mind that the title of the document is not as important as what's actually in the document. So some practitioners may put all that information into one document or perhaps into 2. My practice is to put it into 3, and so that's why I'm going to talk about them separately. The first document is the HIPAA authorization. Well, what's HIPAA? HIPAA is a federal law. It was passed in the early 2000s. It stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And what it does is it protects my health information so that it's not shared with anybody that I do not want it to be shared with. It's a very important rule. It'll make sure that somebody can't just call my doctor and ask what's going on with Danielle. But because of those protections, it's equally important that I have a HIPAA authorization stating who I do want my information shared with. So that if I'm in a state where I can't share information myself, my loved ones have a document that they can show to a healthcare provider so that they can tell them what's going on with me. So the HIPAA authorization is generally a document that has a list, and that list is going to say, I, Danielle, authorize you, doctor, to share my health information with my husband, with my mother, with my sister, and anybody else that I find important to know what's going on. It's especially important if I have somebody that I want to share information with that is not in a legal relationship with me. So if I want to make sure that my best friend also has information, I need to make sure and put her on that list. Otherwise, the default rules in California aren't going to allow that disclosure either. So some clients will put a very, very comprehensive list in place. I've seen people with, 15 or 20 folks on that list. I generally think that your family members and those that are close to you and the people who you want to make decisions is enough to be on that list. But we talk through that with my clients and make sure that whoever is on that list is who they want to be there. Next up is the Advanced Healthcare Directive. That is probably the most important document that somebody's going to sign. If I have an Advanced Healthcare Directive for myself, I am saying that I, Danielle, appoint my friend, my spouse, my mother, whoever it is that I want to appoint, to make healthcare decisions for me if I can't make them for myself. It's going to make sure that that person, who we call an agent, can admit me to the hospital, make sure that I have the treatment and evaluation that I need, make sure that I have pain medication and that I'm comfortable, all the way down to end-of-life decisions. It's very important because I want to select who's going to make healthcare decisions for me. Now, if somebody doesn't have that Advanced Healthcare Directive in place, there are default rules in the state of California that will state who can make those decisions on my behalf. And that will work so long as the default person is who I want. But I find it very important to make sure that I document who that person is so that I'm in control of the person that I select to make those decisions. I kind of joke about it, but In California, the default person would be my husband. And while I love my husband, I do not want him to make healthcare decisions for me because I don't know that he would be strong enough to let me go if that were the decision that I would want made. So if that rings true to you, you want to be sure that you're selecting the person to make those decisions. Well, what kind of decisions do I want? That is where your living will comes in. The living will is going to state what kind of end-of-life decisions I want made. I personally want to state that if I am in a persistent vegetative state, I want to pass away without extraordinary measures. I don't want to be in a coma without a meaningful life. And so that living will is my directive to my agent about what I want, so that the agent who was nominated in my advanced healthcare directive can make those final decisions. And those final decisions are based on the information that the physician shared with him. And again, those pieces of information are coming from the HIPAA authorization. So the HIPAA authorization will give information to the people that I want to share my protected health information with. The advanced healthcare directive is going to say that if I can't make my own healthcare decisions, then I appoint my agent to make them for me. And then the living will is going to tell my agent what I want so he or she can make the right decision on my behalf. Together, those three documents are going to make sure that my clients have the right set of documents in place to meet their goals. Now, when I'm signing those documents, oftentimes my clients will say, well, is this a DNR? I want a DNR. So I want to also take this opportunity to explain what a DNR is. A DNR is a do not resuscitate order. It is something that is executed in the hospital so that if my heart stops, I am not revived and extraordinary measures are not taken. Now, if I get so anxious about posting a video on the internet today that I have a heart attack, I want to be revived. I am generally healthy and I want to enjoy the rest of my life. And so I do not have a DNR and I do not want a DNR at this time. However, if I get to a place where I have a terminal illness and I don't want extraordinary measures, I may sign a DNR on my own behalf. If I'm in that state where I am terminal and I don't want to be kept on machines if something were to happen to me, my agent under the advanced directive would be authorized to sign a DNR on my behalf if that was appropriate. So a DNR is important. It's done through the medical system, not through the lawyer's office. And generally, you will sign your own DNR, you'll ask for your own DNR, or your agent will be able to facilitate that for you. Well, how does that differ from a POST? A POST is a physician's order for life-sustaining treatment that kind of goes hand in hand with a DNR. A POST is a bright pink document that generally is signed when somebody does not want extraordinary measures performed on them at home. It is usually posted on their refrigerator in some visible place so that if a paramedic comes to the house, they legally can see that you don't want extraordinary measures and let you pass away. So to recap, the HIPAA authorization, advanced directive, and living will are done by a lawyer. The DNR and POST are other important documents that are generally handled through your healthcare providers, and they're separate. So generally those are done at a later time. But it's important to understand the distinction so that you know what is important to you and that you're advising your attorney about what you want and you're letting your people that you've selected know the various pieces of information that are important to you. If I have any additional information on this, stay tuned. I will continue to post these educational videos so that I can teach you what's important. And then as you're going out and doing your own estate planning, you know what kind of important decisions you should be making. Thank you.